Just think how many times we do this. Going through doors, coming out on the other side, and we don't even think about it. We walk up, grab hold, pull it open, step through, and there we are. That's it. Fascinating. What if we wanted to change that? What if we wanted to walk up to the door, pull it open, step through, and not be the same person that we were on the other side? I mean, I'm not talking fairy tales. It's not like magic, it's like a choice. Maybe there are things on that side of the door, stuff on that side that I don't want to bring with me to the side. Maybe there's things on this side of the door I need to be prepared for. I have been through a lot of doors. Just this morning, I had to get out of bed, my warm, comfortable bed that I had not been in as long as I wanted to, and go through the door and step into the world of getting everybody off to school and work. I got to work and had to step into a meeting before I ever had a chance to collect my thoughts or even check my email. My phone rang. It was my friend Klein, whom I was eager to talk to, but all he wanted to talk about was a problem he had with his job. It seems a little too automatic to have the me that walks up to the door always be the same me that's on the other side of the door. Sometimes he's the right person, but unless I choose that me, it just seems too predictable, just too prescribed by the habits and emotions that I happen to be carrying along with me at the moment or get triggered by what's waiting for me. It's not the real me. It's a script written for me, using me to act it out. I think I need more say in who I'm going to be in the relationships of my life, and I think the other people in my life need me to have more say as well. My favorite door is my front door, you know, the one in my house. I figured this out a long time ago when my kids were all still little, and our house at coming home from work time was anything but relaxing. It was a total tinderbox of energy. I would come home and I was tired and preoccupied with all the stuff, and home for me meant sanctuary. I was looking for a place I could come in the door, take off my coat and set down my pack and any other worries and burdens I was carrying and just sit back and be for a little bit. But that didn't happen. Ever. What did happen is as soon as I walked in the door, didn't even have a chance to take my coat off, one kid would be jumping on me because I'm home, and a couple others were wanting me to referee some argument they're having. My wife wanted me to weigh in on some decision that had to be made right away, and all I wanted to do was turn around, go back to the door, and run screaming down the street. When I was complaining to a friend of mine about this, he said, and I hate it when someone says something that disagrees with how you feel, but you know they're absolutely right. He said, I guess you're gonna have to make a decision. You have to decide who you want to be when you get to the other side of that door. Do you want to be the tired worker, or do you want to be the father and the husband that everybody needs you to be? And that you probably want to be, and frankly, that you signed up to be. So that door became my icon. It's pretty hard to miss, and it reminds me to choose. Sometimes it takes a little while. My neighbors probably wonder why I stand outside on the doorstep for a couple of minutes before I walk in. Sometimes they probably think I've lost my keys. But what I've noticed is that I go through lots of doors. In fact, most of the times when I have to step into a new situation with people and it's important to decide who I really want to be for those people, there's some sort of door associated with it. It helps. Jesus did this door thing all the time. He was continually walking through doors, stepping into new situations with different people, and was not the person that I'm sure a lot of people expected him to be, or whom it would have been a lot easier to be, but instead who he had come there to be. In John chapter 8, there's this incredible story of Jesus. He's in Jerusalem, in the courtyards by the temple, teaching the people. And suddenly this angry mob comes, this crowd of men carrying stones, dragging this woman, and they throw her on the ground in front of Jesus, and they say, we caught this woman in the act of adultery. The law says we're supposed to stone her until she dies. What do you say? Okay, you have to understand that they were setting up a no-win situation for Jesus. Jesus was going to have to walk through this door. There was no ignoring it. Now what's interesting is that the writer inserts a little bit of information at this point. He tells us that Jesus knelt down and with his fingers started drawing in the sand. People have speculated for millennia what he was doing with this drawing or writing in the sand. But I have an idea. What if all he was doing was doodling? Just buying a little time, just giving himself a little bit of space so he could figure out who he wanted to be when he walked through the door. Kind of like you or me stopping and taking a few extra breaths before we walk into the staff meeting. I mean, he had to be kind of afraid. There's this crowd of people with stones in their hands, and they did want to kill him. And he also had to be really angry. I mean, who wouldn't want to call down the wrath of God on these self-righteous hypocrites who, well, they didn't bring the guy in, did they? I mean, there presumably was a man along with her since she was caught in the act of adultery, but he got off the hook. And then they were willing to take her life just as easily as they would drink a shekel's worth of beer. And then there's the woman. Yeah, he had to have some compassion for her, but at the same time, she's not exactly innocent. I mean, she wasn't being hauled in for taking care of homeless children. Was he going to let his emotions, the circumstances, determine who he was going to be in this instant? Or was he going to choose to be the person that God needed him to be, that that woman needed him to be, that the crowd needed him to be, and that you and I need him to be? He chose not to be the victim, not to be the vengeance seeker, not even to be the bleeding heart. He chose to be the game changer. He took the time he needed to be the one who could stand up and say, anyone who is without sin, throw the first stone. And the writer tells us that one by one, they dropped their stones to the ground and walked away. When you think about it, Jesus is who God needed to be when God knew that he, she, whatever God is, had to go through the door to be in our world. Jesus is the best, the most, the fullest God that God could be in our world. On this side of the door, our lives are just the bundle of habits and emotions and instincts that are just waiting to be triggered by the events of our lives. And because of them, our responses are unchosen and automatic. It's like there's no gap between stimulus and response. And it boils our lives not down to being what we choose to be, but to this lowest common denominator, to just the train wreck of our pre-programming. It doesn't have to be that way. We can separate our responses from all that automatic stuff that wants to call us shots, and we can exercise our human freedom. Freedom that God gave us. Freedom that Jesus came for and lived for and died for. Freedom that represents the you really want to be and that God created you to be. Without that choice, you are a slave to all the baggage in your life. The freedom you exert at that moment is where you become you. And God has a big part to play in all that. I like how Paul puts it in 1 Thessalonians when he says, we pray for God's power to help you do all the good things you hope to do and that your faith makes you want to do. Knowing we have choices is important. Seeing the door and exercising the choice, that's important too. Realizing that God gives us the vision and the awareness and the strength to do it, that makes all the difference.